Hey, welcome back to another episode of the She's Making an Impact podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Ngom. Today we're talking about team building. You need this. Stop trying to do all the things all by yourself because you're going to stay stuck and it's going to be really hard to grow. So I brought on an expert. Sandra is an online business manager and founder of Any Old Task, a small but mighty group of passionate peeps who love getting stuff done, helping people run their business like a lean but never mean fighting a machine. So we're talking about how to hire a virtual assistant, how to hire an OBM. If you don't know what that is, you're going to have to listen. What's the difference between the two? Which one do you need? How do you hire the right person? How do you train them? All that stuff. So we're talking about that today. We're going to dive on in. I hope you enjoy. Hey, Sandra, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rachel. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So let's dive in. Tell us a little bit about you and what it is that you do.
So I am, Sandra Booker. I started as a virtual assistant. I'm now an online business manager and growth strategist. And what I do is I help overworked, overwhelmed, multi-hatted entrepreneurs become a fully supported CEO in their own sustainable, scalable, and profitable business. And I do that by offering strategy and consulting, but also making sure that they have the virtual support and or business management support that they need in order to grow their business.
Amazing. So talk to us. What's the difference between virtual assistant, online business manager?
So virtual assistant is actually more of an industry now. It's grown so big that you have people who are niched down into a lot of different areas of the virtual assistant industry. But when people are talking about getting a virtual assistant, they're usually talking about like a general administrative assistant who's going to come in and help with their take a lot of the admin stuff off their plate, onboarding clients, doing their scheduling, handling contracts, maybe even like doing invoicing and following up on invoicing. It could even be, helping to load blogs or get emails sent out and things like that. Whereas a business manager, they're going to come in, they're going to help you with more of the high level area of your business. So they're going to help you manage your projects in your team. They're going to help you find the right people to bring on. They're going to help you know what goals you're even working towards, what metrics you should be tracking, and they're helping in those levels. They're not necessarily doing the day-to-day stuff. They're more helping, making sure they drive the culture of the business and they drive the your goals forward.
Got it. So what would be like the price point of virtual assistant versus OBM? And when do you know which one you're ready for?
Yeah, so price point wise, virtual assistants you're going to be looking at, I mean, you can find a virtual assistant almost at any price point.
Yeah.
But usually like you're going to find them for like anywhere between $20 and $40 an hour. Online business managers, it's going to be anywhere between usually like 50 and 125 an hour, depending on what they're doing. You will find some online business managers that are in a bit of a transition period where and those are going to be the lower end cost, where they're still doing some VA work and trying to do the business management work as well. So it can be good to start with those people, but they will end up going one way or another. You'll find that either they're going to be moving into, because you can't do both the nitty gritty detail work and the high level work and keep both things moving forward. So there will be a need to split if you have a OBM that's doing both. So
that's exactly where we were. Ariana was originally a virtual assistant for us and then started doing more OBM work, but was still in the day-to-day and like ClickFunnels and ActiveCampaign. And we're like, this isn't working. And so we ended up hiring someone else to do like the nitty-gritty. And then she's just specifically an OBM, which has freed up so much more of like who's reporting to me and like everything that I was doing, because now she's doing it and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot better when you can actually start getting those roles. And it's like when you first start out with a role, a lot of the times it's going to be a mismatch, like a mix and match of like roles and responsibilities. But as your business grows and as the role grows, it will start naturally splitting out into more niche down roles. But yeah, trying to do both nitty gritty and high level is, I mean, just start with, think about when you started your business, the reason you
Yeah.
got a VA is because you couldn't do both. Like you
Right.
can't wear all the hats. So
Yeah. Is there like an income level you would say that you would need to get that OBM, or what part of your business are you like, yeah, I really need to step it up in this part?
um yeah, I would say like usually you're not looking for an OBM until it's usually when you start getting into the six figures, you know, even some low six figures, but usually when you get into that, and it's usually when it's not completely driven by an income level, it's more driven by like how big your team has gotten. Like, are you bringing your team and your
Mm.
projects that you're doing? So once you get to that point where you can no longer manage the projects or you can no longer manage the team, hopefully you identify that you're coming to that point before you get to that
Mhm.
point and hire then.
How many team members would you say?
Usually like usually you're looking for an OBM when you have at least like usually two. If you only have one, it's usually not too hard. Some people get an OBM even when they only have one other team member because they
Really?
also do a lot of projects and they need
Yeah.
a lot of the help on the project level. Um, but yeah, usually it's like two or three team members and you start getting to that, like, especially if they're employees and you're like, okay, now I have to manage, vacation time and benefits and, um, time off requests and reviews and things like that. So definitely getting an OBM at that point can be super
I think
helpful.
we waited too long because I had like 7 people reporting to me, and I was like, this is getting to be too much.
Yeah,
This is a little
yeah,
too much.
yeah.
So,
Seven people would be a lot to try and manage on your own.
yeah,
So,
yeah, it was. Um, so when you're hiring for these roles, who is like, what kind of person are you looking for to make sure you're getting the right person in either role?
so I like to I do some I do some tricky things when I'm looking. I tend to hire as employees instead of subcontractors myself, but I do tend to like build in some little testing features into like the process, and like asking questions that will give me make help me understand, can they do something. Like if I want to the very first interview, I don't necessarily do face to face. I'll ask them to I'll ask, say, can you answer these 7 questions through a Loom video? Because if they can figure out Loom, then at least that's one step. They
Yep.
so I do like some little testing as I go, but usually for like a virtual assistant, you're looking for, I like to give them the I like to ask like what their disc profile is and their Colby A results are. And the disc profile, because I'm tend to look for somebody who's like a high SC,
Mhm.
and preferably somebody who's a high SC and maybe like a mid-level D. I want somebody that's going to speak up, but not necessarily somebody that's going to butt heads with me all the time. And a
Hmm.
high D is going to butt heads with you. And if you're also a high D. Um, so it's more about like, are they detail oriented? Are they, conscientious about what they're doing? Um, are they planners in regards to like, if they set up a task in Asana or your project management tool, does the task make sense? Is it an action? Like, is it a like, you know, um, create workbook for module one, or does it just say module one workbook? Like one is an actual action task and one is just information that's not necessarily useful in planning. So you're looking for somebody who can actually plan, um, and communicate well written and understand how tasks work and um, that kind of stuff. For an online business management manager, you're looking for somebody who can understand, more of like a leader who can
Mhm.
understand how to manage people and manage projects, how to read reports like and analytics and understands what metrics you should be monitoring in your business. Um, so you're looking for somebody who's at that kind of level, and somebody who's going to um, on both levels. You're looking for somebody who is going to help you delegate to them. So
Hmm.
you're looking for on both levels, somebody who's going to say, oh, I saw you were doing this, I can actually do that for you.
Hmm.
And somebody that's going to actually help grow their role by taking stuff off your plate.
Isn't that
Yeah.
nice? I love that. Okay, so you have either a virtual assistant or an OBM and you're onboarding them. What are some things you want to make sure you're doing in that onboarding process?
So when you're onboarding them, one thing you're going to want to make sure that you're doing is um, giving like being clear on what their autonomy is. Like, what do you expect from them? Like what is the overall outcome of their role? So if you bring a VA on, some people just bring a VA on and they just start delegating tasks and they're like, here, do this task and here, do this task without giving them the whole picture of the business and like what the goals are, like what are they working towards. Make sure that whoever you bring on, they get a really good understanding of the big picture that they're working towards so that they can help guide guide the work. If I'm just assigned a task and I don't know, like, I don't, if you just say, here's a piece of a puzzle, put it there, that's all I'm doing. But if I see another piece, I can't put it where it belongs because I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what I'm working towards. I don't know what the picture is that I'm working towards. So always give them the big picture. If you have a mission statement for your business, if you don't get one, make sure you get one. But your mission statement should drive your business as well. It should be something that everybody in your company knows. Should be something that you work towards and it helps in your decision making. So making sure that you communicate the overall, so not just the project that you're working on, but the overall mission of the business. I think that's the biggest piece that people miss in the onboarding process is giving the whole picture to people.
Got it. And
Um,
then like day-to-day communications, because I've seen some people onboard a VA and they're either not performing at their expectations or they're not doing just the work that they expected, I would say. Is
mhm.
that the entrepreneur's fault, the business owner, for not giving super clear directions and leading them effectively, or is it the virtual assistant's fault? And how do you lead effectively in making sure they're doing, like, they're meeting your expectations with what it is that you're looking for?
It's usually a combination of the two. And I try not to worry about blame so much as process, like fix the
Hmm.
person, not the process, that Alex Sharfin says actually. And it's so yeah, it's usually a combination of the two. A lot of the times it's like the VA is unsure and not sure like what the expectations are or what their autonomy is to outline the expectations. And sometimes it's the business owner that is either micromanaging or only giving out little pieces of the task. Um, so what I would recommend doing is when you're delegating to somebody, don't just delegate a task, delegate the entire outcome. Like, so instead of saying, can you please check your email every single day and then respond to these people first and then respond to these people and then blah, 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 and giving like a full outline of how you would do it.
Mhm.
Say, I need you to manage this inbox and I want all of our active clients responded to within 12 business hours and all inquiries answered within 24 business hours or whatever your things are. And just leave it at that and let them figure out how they need to organize it for them,
Hmm.
and how they're going to tackle it for them. Don't over complicate the steps, just give them the outcome, and then let them shine. You can also make sure that you communicate because when you give an outcome, depending on what outcome you're delegating, you might have in your head, oh, that'll take 20 minutes, but they might have heard something that takes 3 hours.
Hmm.
So one thing you can do is say, hey, can you spend 20 minutes on this? This is the outcome I want. Or you can say, this is the outcome I'm trying to get to. How long do you think that's going to take? And get an estimate from them. Time is usually the big factor because a lot of the time business owners get a VA who charges by the hour.
Right.
And then they start like usually it's like this is the first person you have on your team, and you're like, I don't know how much I can spend. So when somebody spends an hour on something that you think takes 20 minutes, um, it can cause a lot of stress. So
Right.
just making sure that you communicate your expectations or what you think it's going to take, and then but also allow them to tell you like why it might take longer, because I can tell you like for most things what you think it takes is wrong. Even like when I'm estimating time, I always do my estimate and then I, times it by 1.2 because it's always takes always takes a little bit time, sometimes double. So just get to know you. But yeah, I would say like making sure that you delegate the outcomes would be super helpful in helping that VA on board because it gives them more autonomy to do the job and shine in their role.
Got it. What are some warning signs that you didn't hire the right person?
So, warning signs that you didn't hire the right person. So, first of all, like warning signs about even just like potentially hiring somebody, if they show up late to the call or they say they're going to get the proposal to you on this date and they don't get it, like if they're late right off the bat, if you get on a call with them and they don't look put together, all those things are kind of warning signs, just in the hiring process. But once you actually get them on your team, I like to check in with people every single day, and just ask them questions about like, what did you work on today? What did you struggle with today? And just see how well they communicate what they were doing and how well they understood what they were doing. If you're checking in with somebody every single day, and it's just like a ten minute thing. So it's not like you're spending hours. You're not there to correct things. You're just there to check in. You'll see right away if they're getting it or not, and it'll also give you the opportunity to direct them a little bit better. Some people will get it like that. Some people it will take 2 weeks before it clicks for them, but within the month you'll know for sure this person's working or this person's not. um, and I would say that if they cannot communicate back to you effectively what it is they're working on, like if you tell them to do something and then they repeat it back to you and it's like completely a different task, that's potentially, especially after a few days, that's potentially something that is a big red flag. Or if they're constantly missing deadlines, um, like continuously missing deadlines, if they're not asking questions, that's a
Mhm.
red flag. But also, if they're asking questions they could Google, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just a teachable moment. People think like a lot of VAs think that you want to be communicated with a lot, and some VAs are just like, no, I know my role is to take the work off your plate, so I won't ask you questions. So it's just a matter of you communicating what your comfort level is. Because I've worked with clients who they want to report back, like, I sent you this task, you didn't respond telling me that you got it. Like, are you working on it? I'm like, well, yeah, it's in the project management tool. You can see it's 10% complete. Like, I don't waste your time by giving you a response but you all the time. So some clients want that, and you have to like find the balance. So
Find the balance. I like that. Um, what would you say to the entrepreneur who thinks they're not ready to hire because they they think they don't have the funds yet to make that hire?
I would say, I'd say like first of all, a good virtual assistant is going to help you make more money because they're going to help you free up time so that you can start moving some goals forward faster. Whether that be that you're going to be taking on more clients, or maybe you're launching a program, or whatever it is you're going to do, a good VA should help you grow your revenue. Um, if you have, I would say usually like when you're starting with a VA, depending on what level of VA you're getting, a good rule of thumb is if you have like your first VA is probably going to cost you like $500 a month, depending, but just that's a usually good number. So $500 a month. Say you're going to get them for like 10 to 20 hours, depending on how much they charge. If you can afford to pay that amount, at least for the first 3 months, you have that in the bank, and then you can work up as you go, then go for it. Like, try it out. Just make sure that you're slow to hire and fast to fire. So when you're looking for a VA, don't just go with, oh, well, my friend has this VA that she loves. Because just because your friend is different than you, so they interact differently. So meet with a bunch of people, even maybe do a little test project with a few people and see how you jive and see how you feel with them before you really commit to somebody. And then once they're on, be meeting with them every day, making sure, like, checking in with them. And if they're just not getting it, like after 2-3 weeks, don't keep investing in them. If you're correcting the same thing over and over, they're not getting it, it might be time to move on. So
I like what you said about doing like a test project. We did that when we were hiring our social media manager, and really quickly we could see who was not going to be a good fit because they couldn't even figure out LastPass and was like such a big headache, and then who went above and beyond during that test week. And it was
yeah,
like out of our 3 candidates, it was like, oh, this person, like, easy, and she's been with us for 2+ years, like, she's just
yeah.
awesome. And it came from that test week of her just really going above and beyond. And I'm really grateful we did that, because the other one would have been just like such a headache.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you were like hiring a social media person, like, a lot of people would just look at, well, I love the graphics that they create, or the captions they come up with, or the planning, like the actual strategy that they're using. I love that. But there is something to be said about how much work they're going to be to work with. And
Yep.
if they're going to be somebody that's going to be constantly asking, oh, I can't figure out where my password is, or like, how do I log in here? Like, that's
Get
frustrating.
resourceful, figure it out. Totally. What's one of the best books you've read?
One of the best books I've read is a really old book, and it was called Who Moved My Cheese? And it's a really short book. It's one of those, like, business books you can read in an hour. And it's feels silly because it's about, like, mice and stuff, but it was really insightful. And I do highly recommend it as a good read.
Nice.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you to make an impact?
To me, making an impact means that I'm just helping other people meet their goals. Like, I'm happy when I can see that progress has been made, and it doesn't matter how big the scale is. One client reaching 6 figures, one client reaching 7 figures, it doesn't matter. It's that they reached their goal and that I was a part of that. I'm a big gold star. I live for gold stars.
I
I'm
love
a
it.
big gold star fan.
I love it. Where can we connect with you?
You can connect with me at anyoldtask.ca, or on Instagram or Facebook at anyoldtask.
Amazing. Sandra, thank you so much for being on the show and just adding so much value to our audience. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Rachel. It was a lot of fun.